is up, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Huge podcast, baby. How are we doing today? Oh, folks, man, I'm excited for this one. We love to share success stories from huge dreamers, folks in the real estate business, entrepreneurs, movers, shakers, influencers, and more. Hopefully, these interviews and stories will help to motivate and inspire you to dream huge. And today we have co-host of mine is JP for three. John Pavlansky, top huge producer at Dream Huge Realty in 2023, real estate investor, basketball extraordinaire star, after school basketball all star. What else can I say about JP? Former rapper. Yeah, Philadelphia Eagles fan. Okay, JP, just everything that's awesome about JP. John Pavlansky, how are you doing, sir?
My man, that was a hell of an introduction today, Pete. I am doing great, man. Definitely excited to dive into some real estate talk with a colleague and great friend of mine today, man. So, Pete, how are you doing, my guy?
I'm outstanding. I'm always excited to share folks' success stories to help motivate and inspire others. And today we have our very special guest, Dan Amaro. To buy and sell tomorrow, call Dan Amaro, baby. Dan Amaro with Emerge Real Estate Champions. Thank you for joining us, Dan. We are excited to share your story. How are you, sir?
I am great. I've been kind of waiting for you guys to ask me to come on. Honestly, I wrote it down in my journal as a goal to be on your podcast a year ago, believe it or not.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
I'm really excited to be here. Truly, I'm humbled. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, and a message to, thank you for coming. You're a very busy guy. Thank you for taking the time. But a message to everyone, don't wait for us to reach out. If you're interested in being on the podcast, reach out to us as well. We would love to have you on. Everybody has a story to tell, some more motivating and inspiring than others, I must say. But we are excited for Dan. His is very motivating and inspiring. So Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you are currently, and what you do currently.
Yeah, I'm a guy that likes to help people, and I like to make a small part or just be part of a team of something bigger than myself. And I feel like that's what real estate is. You're helping people get from point A to point B, whether it's just telling them about finance options and you're not even selling their house, or helping them actually move and just getting them in a better spot. I've always been a team player, and like playing your role is very important. And I guess being an entrepreneur, which is what I'm progressing into, not just sales, but running a business and creating a business. I think it's a lot of fun. That's my video game now. I'm a father to a beautiful 2-year-old. She's almost 3. I'm a husband and a believer of Christ. So, I mean, that I'd say that sums me up in a pretty big, well-rounded nutshell. I'm in Ontario, Ohio, which is Mansfield, baby, and just blessed to be here, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Dan, how long? I know just for the listeners out there, how long you've been doing it, and what kind of start did you have, and how have that progressed into you being one of the top agents in our area right now?
So I have been licensed, which means how long since I've passed the real estate exam? 1,098 days. So that's 3 years, 5 days. January 31st was the day that I passed my test. It was glorious. I was crying and sweating afterwards because it meant a lot to do that. And how I got here, so I was born and raised in Michigan, Northville, shout out, and moved to Hilliard with my wife because she had moved from Ashland to Northville to be with me. We got married in Plymouth, Ohio, and she got a job promotion being a regional manager at Culligan Water, and that moved us to Hilliard. And we got priced out when it came time to buy a house back before pre-COVID. We got priced out even. Then COVID happened, but we still wanted to move, and we came out to Mansfield because her family's in Ashland. We wanted to be closer to that. We were also trying to start a family. And as you all would know, starting a family is really important to have a house to raise that family in. And that brought us out here. We saw a couple of dumpers in Ashland and Mansfield, and we saw our home in Ontario, and it was super easy to make the decision to to buy this house. So that's how I got to Ontario.
Awesome, man. Awesome, awesome. And yeah, you've had some great success on the real estate side, being in it 3 years and 5 days exactly. What has helped you find the most success in real estate so far, Dan?
Oh man, somehow, some way. I mean, I don't really mean somehow, but honestly, the blessing of connecting with people at such an early time frame in my career. So I had got licensed, and before I was licensed, I wanted to be a real estate investor. That was my biggest goal and ambition, to own a bunch of properties, be a landlord. And when I started that journey, I got linked up with Tracy Jones' team. And I didn't know how real estate worked at all, really, at that point in time, the logistics of being a real estate agent, being on a team. So I was under the impression once you got licensed, if like I'd be on Tracy Jones' team. That was just kind of what I thought, because she was the one who had like directed me to the right channel to get licensed, what you need to do, here's a discount code, etc. So Tracy Jones honestly helped me a lot, because when I first got licensed, I wasn't on her team. And I was like, hey, what the heck? Like, I'm just kind of out here, I feel. And so I reached out to her and she said, oh, wow, you passed your test? Awesome. Yeah, come on in for an interview. So passed the interviews, was on her team for exactly 21 days. And in that 21 days, I learned most of how I run my business right now, truthfully, and how to convert and how to talk to people, prospects. That's what I would say got me going, like right out the gate. Because before her, I was cold calling, kind of beating my face every day, just thousands of no's every single day. And how I did that, I just go on the auditor, search people who owned a bunch of properties. It's like, hey, I'm a real estate investor too. I understand what it's like. You know, you want to sell your properties? Like, no, okay, I understand. Save my number. Just getting pounded every day. And I got my first prospect when I was taking a break from cold calling. Someone called me randomly from Keller Williams, because there's a huge network of them, and they had a client from Alabama moving to Mansfield, and they saw that I was the only agent that had Mansfield next to their name on their whole database. So they called me. They didn't know I was a brand new agent, had never done a deal, had never even shown a house to a client before. So I was doing long distance showings before I ever had somebody in person. And I
Uh-oh.
gave, yeah. So I gave it my all, and they were the only thing I had to focus. It was finally like I had all this knowledge, I had all this energy, all this ambition channeling into one family, finding their house, and they ended up buying a house on Grand Boulevard in Shelby. It's a beautiful house. They moved here, and seeing someone move, I'm sure you guys have helped someone long distance, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So them going into the house for the first time after they close and being there with them, it's frightening, but it's also really exciting. And you try to do your best. They get a home inspection. You do multiple video tours, with the consent of the other realtor allowing you to do that. But it's still just very stressful, and seeing them satisfied was just such a good feeling. So that was my first client and first feeling of being a real realtor. And after that, I was able to, not because of that, but after that, I was linked up with Tracy Jones on her team and her training and reading Sales Ninja. I had already read all of Robert Kiyosaki books at that time, just for being a real estate investor. And just being grateful and thankful, just whenever someone gave me a chance, an opportunity, just really makes it a lot more fun and satisfying.
Yes, sir. So you took it from that first client, which you actually closed your first client. So great job on that. Not only was it your first lead, but you also closed that lead. Um, what was your total sales last year, 2023?
2023, I was grateful to work and close with 70 clients.
And what's the total dollars?
13 and a half, 13.657, around that number ballpark.
Amazing. 13.65 million in sales by year 3 from just one little old lead from Alabama 3 years ago to 13 over 13 and a half million. So, how do you scale? And this is advice for new agents just starting out. How in the hell do you go from closing one in year 1 to that many over 13 million in year 3? What are your secrets?
Problem solving. So, I mean, it didn't just, obviously, as you just said, it didn't happen overnight. It wasn't, oh, here's my first one, bam, I'm there. My first year, I closed 49, right? So I went from 49 to 70. Uh, and in that 49, I didn't close my first deal until mid March. I think it was actually my wedding anniversary, March 17th. That was the first day of closing. And I remember because I took that commission check, I invested half of it, went to the Herring Jewelry in Mansfield and bought my wife something really nice, because before then I was dead broke. My back was against the wall. I invested my last $1,800 I had to my name into a real estate school in August. So I went from August to January 31st, just grinding it out. So I really, really wanted it. I wasn't in a situation where like things were being handed to me, leads were being fed to me. I learned how to work leads, but I didn't get them handed to me. And so I would say how it happened: extreme grind, extreme work ethic, resilience, but then we're educating yourself, like understanding where they are. Because like I said beforehand, I had read all these books. I was already owning real estate properties. I had a triplex. But as far as the business as being a realtor, the first year, I think when I had gotten so busy, because when you start out as a realtor, I don't ever advise someone just go full-time for starting out, at least like for me, because the first 3 months, it was really, really, really rough. I pounded my face with those cold calls, like I told you, and then I finally learned how to start working leads, but none of those leads that were like given the nurture leads converted. They were extremely tough to deal with, and they were low-end properties. But going through that experience helps you see the good ones, the good potential, the clients that are actually ready to go or getting them ready to go. So when I got going, I got so busy where because before real estate, I was inspecting houses for insurance companies, taking photos with your phone, like letting them know what they did to their house. I was getting so busy that my phone be blowing up when I'm taking photos for insurance companies, and I couldn't do it anymore. Like literally, I could not take 15 minutes taking photos, doing the reports, because it'd be getting interrupted every single time. So that's when I knew, okay, I got to stop doing this. I'm losing money working this job because I'm not attending to my business. And I told my company, hey, I got to resign, unfortunately. And they were in a situation where they just acquired a bunch of new clients. So they're like, no, we're so busy. We need you. Like, we'll pay you what you need. We'll give you a raise. So that day I said, okay, fine. They gave me a raise like $21 an hour or whatever. Then the next day, the same thing happened. I was like, you guys, like, unless you're going to pay me $100 an hour, I'm sorry, I have to quit. And like, okay, fine. Like, we'll let you go. So that's my advice: is don't start out full time. Do it until you cannot do your job anymore. Or at least it makes sense to leave your job and go into real estate full time, because it's not a guaranteed pay. You only eat what you kill, and you reap the fruits of your labor 100%.
Yeah. And what stood out to me the most in all that is it's a lot simpler than people make it. I mean, it is truly a lot simpler than a lot of agents make it. You said it yourself. Extreme work ethic, extreme responsibility, just constant. I want to tell a quick story about me and Dan real quick. Me and Dan, we've been buddies. When I first started real estate, we made a quick connection. We were chopping it up on the phone one day through a deal, and and we kind of talked from there. We texted each other a little bit. We had a mutual friend, and Mr. Chris Durbin down at Fairway, and me and Dan one day decided to go down to a hockey game, and I'll never forget this because this changed my mentality on certain things even. And Pete probably remembers it too because I came in the next day, and we went down to this hockey game, and we're driving down there to Columbus. Dan offered to drive, and the whole time I see a message on his phone come up every few minutes. Another text, another person texting, to the point where he gives me his phone in the passenger seat and says, "Hey, dude, can you text this person back and say this real quick?" He was so freaking busy with people contacting him that he was asking me, another agent from another brokerage, "Hey, can you do this for me real quick? Can you say something to this guy real quick?" And I came in and told Pete, I said, "This guy has so many leads, he doesn't know what to do with them. He doesn't even know what to do with them. He's got so many leads, man. This guy is killing it. This guy is an animal." And I asked you how he did it, and I started to kind of buy the leads and work on the leads inside of things too. And really, honestly, a lot of my business was modeled over yours. So I just want to tell that story because it blew my mind how busy you were. And it, again, comes from the fruits of your labor. Like you said, you worked your ass off. Absolutely, nose to the grindstone, worked your butt off until you got to a point where you had more leads than you knew what to do with.
Mm-hmm. And now I'm blessed to a point where I'm starting a team. I'm able to delegate that stuff off. I just had my assistant pass his real estate test, and we're just gonna be rocking, man. Like, you know, I don't want to mimic me. I want him to be his own self because I don't anticipate him to always be on my team. I don't want him always on my team. Like, I want him to do what I did in a sense of like, okay, I learned this. I was successful at this. I earned some money. I'm able to better my life, my situation, and then him go and help other people, him do the same thing. So like I have so much, like right now, like it's not like even under contract, but just so much work and so much things to do to help people, that it's like what you just said. It's the bucket's so full. There's enough to help and pass around.
That's awesome.
Love to hear it. There's no shortage of success in this business, and that's what I love about it. You talked about it. The harder you work, the more people you help, the more successful you will be. And Dan and JP, these two guys right here are living proof of that. So love to see it. Dan, before the show, you had mentioned going through some type of transformation of sorts, some things that you are now applying to your maybe personal life, which was also translating over to your professional life, and if you could explain how that is working for you.
Yeah. So this story starts back at last March. So a year ago in March, I had been introduced to a very good friend who's now like a brother to me. We talk almost every day. He's the lead singer of this band called Crowbot. Crowbot is pretty big. They're playing that huge Columbus and
I've
that
seen
huge.
Crowbot. I've seen
Yeah.
Crowbot open for Steel Panther.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So the singer of Crowbot, he's like my brother now. His name's Brandon.
No way.
Yes. Yeah. So when I met him because when I used to go on tour with my acoustic singer-songwriter project, I had met somebody named Ron Smith, aka Cheesefoot. Cheesefoot does merch for Crowbot. And so he's like, "Hey man, I'm coming to town. I'd love to see you. Like, come on in." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And I had never listened to Crowbot either. So they became one of my favorite bands just from seeing them. And so I was able to meet them, obviously, because Cheesefoot is best friends / their merch. And when I met Brandon, I was like, I already know to some degree, what being a musician on the road consists of. So I wanted to get to know him a little bit deeper than that. And I asked him, "So what do you like to do outside of music, man?" And the two things he said to me right away was, I'm really interested in stock and investing in real estate. And I looked at him and I said, "Do you know what I do for a living?" And he said, "I have no idea. Well, what do you do?" I said, "I sell real estate for a living, brother." And his eyes just went, and we ended up learning that he doesn't even tell that to people. Like, he doesn't even know why that came out of him when I asked him. He's never said that to anyone before. And so from that point on, we talked about real estate every day. I was able to influence him to get his real estate license in Pennsylvania. He became a licensed realtor. He's the first person I was ever able to influence to sign up for real estate classes and to actually pass it. And he sold a listing last year while being in Crowbot. And hearing what he's doing, like he's got a marketing mind of a genius. So from Brandon, I had met, to answer your question now, from Brandon, I had met a hypnotherapist, Cody Vidal, who I would say is helped me transform my life on a personal level, which is helping me on a business level. And something he says all the time, which I truly believe, to be your best, you must invest in yourself. And so that's the growth I've made from that experience. I just passed, or not passed, but I just completed his program, and I'm walking around the best version of myself today.
What
Amazing.
does that program look like? What types of things were you able to implement?
Yeah, so the first 3 sessions that you go through, it's all finding out negative beliefs that you have about yourself, because you don't just go in there and start telling him all the bad stuff about you or what you believe about yourself. It's like he gets to know you, and that's how he gets to know you. He gives you homework afterwards, and one of the hardest homework assignments is 10 negative beliefs that you have about yourself. Like, because once you get to 6 and 7, it's actually really difficult to come up with that, because you don't really think about it all the time unless that's the kind of person you are. I actually used to just block out parts of my life that I didn't like so much, and getting them all out on the table, and going through it. The best way I can put it is it's intense therapy. Like after every session, I was crying, but it comes all from within you. Like it's you, and like you bring the answers out from within you. And then after those 3 sessions, it starts with like healing, repair, working past it, like digging out stuff that I used to block and like not want to deal with head on has made me such a stronger person, especially in faith. Like I'm not afraid or like ashamed ever to say I'm a Christian and believer. Like not pushing that on anybody or anything, but I used to not really want to say that ever. But then at the same time trying to be an example, whether I'm saying I am a Christian or not. Like I'd rather show through actions anyway. And just I wouldn't say like I had a horrible childhood by any means, but like I had a pretty difficult family dynamic growing up. So it which I think a lot of successful realtors have now, after I've like heard other realtors and like Tony Robbins. People just have difficult family dynamics, which makes them easy to connect. It's easier for those people to connect with a lot of other people who are going through the struggle currently trying to get a house.
Love
I
that.
love it. So,
You know,
if you don't mind, Dan, what are some of the things that, and feel free to say no. What are some of the
Okay.
things that you've brought to light that have
some
helped
of
you?
those negatives.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had the last session a week ago, so he had gone over the whole list, and I forgot about the list even because of how far I've come since I told him that list. I used to think I had average intelligence, that I was a slow reader, that uh, I didn't have very much good things to say, and that I would say that that's like the 3 biggest things. And like he's helped me uncover, and I'm not saying this to be arrogant by any means, he's helped me uncover that everyone has a genius side of them. It's just finding out what that is. And he's helped me discover that my genius is real estate.
Well, your bank account can prove that, baby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it is working. And it's only because you're helping folks out.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah.
The bank
So,
account is the byproduct of that.
mhm.
And being happy every day. Like I get it. I wake up excited every single day, because not even that long ago, before I was a realtor, before I was doing the inspections, I was working with 16-year-olds at a pizza shop in Columbus. And I remember just like feeling so negative, just so like anxious and like not in a good way. Like, oh my God, just dragging myself in there, hoping that I get to go deliver pizza to make more than minimum wage. Because if not, then you're stuck working, and they didn't treat me very well. They treated me like I was slow and stupid, and not never gave me an opportunity to progress, which I like really really wanted. I'd come in and ask on my days off, hey, can I come in and learn how to manage? Can I come in and learn the books? Like just anything to get out of where I was, and was never presented, which is also another point in real estate. You create your own destiny. You can be your own boss. You're running a business. You're an entrepreneur, which is very exciting to me.
You
Absolutely.
also create your own destiny when you are a rock star.
Yes. Yep.
So you've got a little rock star history in yourself, from what I know. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that with us?
Yeah. I don't really talk about that a whole bunch, so yes, I'm happy to talk about that. It's kind of similar to being a realtor, to be honest with you. Just instead of the sales direct part, you are trying to market your music. Um, so I had a band in Michigan that I was essentially the band dad. Wrote the music, the lyrics, would book the studio time, would pay for the studio time, would book the tours, had the band van, and like really wanted to do it full force. I was like essentially just working any gig I could that was compatible with leaving whenever to go and tour and play music at different places. Like I was dreaming essentially every day of playing a different stage, any in a different state. And I think when I started to do that seriously, I was 25 and a half, almost 26, and did that up until I was 28 and a half. And when I moved here, I had to start all over. I didn't know anybody at all in Hilliard, so I was in a really low spot. I didn't have any friends. I didn't have any connections, and started an acoustic singer songwriter project called In Winds, because God is in Winds. And did that. I was able to get a small record deal and toured, and uh, made a lot of really good friends. And actually, that ties into real estate, because one of the promoters in Ohio remembered me because I he booked a show for me, and we got him a house in Columbus. He was my fourth or fifth client. So like that was super super cool, being able to tie that together. And I mean, I'd say like my one of my favorite memories from just being a musician was my band released an EP that a record label paid for, and we were in Minnesota. And a kid came up to me after we performed. It was actually one of the best gigs we ever played. I had it on video, and he said, "Hey, you're one of my favorite singers I've ever heard." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, you sound like Story of the Year." I was like, "That's one of my favorite bands. That's really cool." So that's one of my favorite memories from being a musician.
Here's the
Amazing.
thing. Here's the thing, though. Once a rock star, always a rock star. And so I'm curious. Once you continue to grow this real estate business, and maybe you can put some systems in place, do you see yourself going back to that someday? Do you dream of that still?
I had an enlightening dream 2 weeks ago that I think will answer your question, but I do also sometimes, like lately, I've been finding my voice again, singing and other songs. But I had an intense dream about, because I've actually worked with a lot of artists, because I used to be a booking agent as well in Michigan. So I'd book a bunch of bands, a bunch of shows that my band didn't play. And there's some bands that like found some success that I had worked with at a very early age in their career. One of them is called Action Adventure. They're on Pure Noise Records, which is a pretty big indie record label for the type of genre that pop punk, post hardcore, like Warp Tour type of music. And I had a dream that they played in Michigan, and they asked me to come to Chicago with them and record with them as their new singer. Their drummer quit, and their singer wanted to play drums for some reason. And I said hesitantly, like, okay, like, and I still had a real estate career and everything too, so it was like pretty current and up to date. I was like, yeah, I'll go out there. And I was there in the studio, and I just realized I didn't like doing that anymore. Like, I was like, I feel wrong being here. Like, I have a wife and daughter, and like, I'm not doing real estate. Like, so like, I don't think that any part of me is missing it, if you will, but I think it's more fun than anything. I think that I might write a song because something might happen that, like just a deep story of some sort that like happens, and I just have to get it out of me, because it was pretty therapeutic for me. Um, and that's when I think I might write songs, or even just music to put behind my videos. That was a thought I had, instead of using other like standard stock songs. But I don't have any desire, I don't think, to go out on the road on a consistent basis or anything. Like, maybe more like a weekend run. If Crowbot ever asked me, hey dude, do you want to come out on a cruise ship gig we're doing or something like that, like, I might do that. But like, they've got a whole list of people that they'll ask to do that before me, I'm sure.
That's awesome. And Pete only asked you that because he's still thinking about his rock star dreams. So if
Oh
he's
yeah, I
Pete,
always dream about that.
Pete is a jammer. He's an absolute jammer through and through.
Yeah. Well, JP, it reminds me too of your boy Steven Diaz,
Yeah, the
the
rap.
real estate rapper. And he does both. Or I don't know if he even sells anymore. Like we were saying, he's built this big music career rapping about real estate. Do you follow him
Oh
by
man,
chance? Steven
no.
Diaz on Instagram. Yeah, so
You
that could be
probably
you. You could be the Vans Warp Tour version of him.
Yeah, I'm hoping Crowbot starts writing some real estate rock songs. I'm trying to, like, like kind of like a rock version of like Money and like stuff like that, but like the power of real estate and stuff, like this positive, uplifting, inspiring things about real estate with just rock and roll. Because Crowbot is like so talented. Like, they have the best guitars, and like it's an honor to know them. Honestly, like, it's like they're dragons. Like, you don't meet people like that
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
normally.
100%.
it's
100%.
amazing.
And Pete's got an album on iTunes too. If anybody wants to go peep it
You
out,
got to dig deep to find that one.
I'll send you the link, Dan. Don't worry.
Okay.
We got to post all Dan's links. He's probably got a bunch of stuff on out there on iTunes and everything.
Banger.
Yeah. All right. You're gonna have
Mhm.
to send us those links, and we'll post those to the podcast, and then your music career is gonna take off once again.
It's gonna
You're gonna have to
reignite.
you're gonna have to hit the road, but you can bring the family with you. See, you get one of those big tour buses. You just bring the family right along with you.
I'm not at that point yet, but yes, yeah.
So let's.
So like, actually, when my music ambitions like died down, right, that happened during COVID. I had an EP that I wrote, and there was a marketing plan for it. Like, there was probably like 6 months invested into planning this release, and then COVID happened like a month before it was supposed to be released, and couldn't play any of the shows. The music didn't really do anything because it was such a weird time for online marketing. I mean, that doesn't really, like, I'm not saying that would have changed everything, but it definitely didn't help
Yeah.
with me like pursuing it to my fullest anymore. And so when that happened, I was pretty lost, and that's how I got into home inspecting. My friend suggested, "Hey man, I think you'd be a good home inspector." I said, "What is a home inspector?" So I started going on runs. Like, the next day, I went on a run, saw a home inspector inspecting a house. I was like, that's pretty weird. The next day, I went on another run, same thing. Like, all right, God, like, never even known what a home inspector was. Now I'm seeing them daily. Like, if I see one more this week, I'll take it seriously. And then later that day, I saw another one. So then, like, that's how I started getting into real estate.
Incredible. Love it.
John, I think you muted yourself.
Yeah.
We'll chop that up. Don't worry.
There we go. He's back.
Let's do a quick recap, okay, of everything so far. So we got Mr. Amaro, born and raised Michigan man. He starts his music career in Michigan. Meets the wife, moves down to Hilliard with $1,800 to his name. He buys his real estate classes and he goes after it full force, guys. It takes extreme commitment. It takes extreme grinding. It takes that. That's exactly what it takes. But there is one thing that I want to talk about too, because now you said you're transitioning into learning how to run your business, how to be a business owner and an entrepreneur rather than just a real estate agent. And I think that's very important. And that's one of the reasons why I went to an agency like Dream Huge, because I have the ability to build my own business, similar to you at eMerge. You don't have the TC in place, you don't have the assistants in place, you don't have all those. You get to build it yourself. You make more in the meantime, but you also get to build it yourself and learn how to truly be an entrepreneur. So, Dan, before we hop into the huge four and the rapid fire round, tell us a little bit about doing that and how you've been able to build systems for you and your team to work more efficiently.
Yes. So I have an assistant, a virtual assistant. I have an assistant to that virtual assistant who's also the caller. His English is just much better. They're in the Philippines. His English is just much better, so he's more comfortable with conversations. But he supports her really anything that I need. It's like, hey, will you call him and ask him this or etc. Just really whatever is needed. I have someone helping with my designs and the website back end. Like that's all he does. And then my assistant just graduated to being a realtor, so he's a teammate now. My cousin just moved down from Michigan, so she's going to be our in-person runner assistant. Hopefully, one day she'll get her real estate license. Who knows? And so she's actually helping market as well, it just in person. And so it all started with one. You start with one, and that was I was so busy that like I was running myself ragged. I like John said in the car on the way to the game or whatever. So what John was doing, I essentially like shifted to my virtual assistant, but not so much sales. I learned what her strengths were. I knew she was valuable and like highly qualified, but she wasn't great at everything. No one is great at everything. Like I'm great at sales, communication, but then there's just things I'm not very good at. Can't really think of them on the spot, but those whatever my weaknesses are, I shift to other people where it's their strength. So like her strength was admin. I'm not good at admin stuff. I'm good at doing. I'm a doer. I'm a driver. She is great at setting me up to knock it out the park. So that was the first thing that we implemented. Trained her on a daily basis for maybe 2-3 months, to where she understood the business, what the expectations were. Having expectations is extremely important because if you don't have that, then they don't know what you really want. So like that's what I would say for any real estate agent who's going to hire somebody. And I actually learned that from Tracy Jones too. Shout out to Tracy. If you don't have expectations, they will not know what you want. And you got to know what you want too, first off. So make sure you have pages front to back. Like I think I had 5 pages of things that I needed someone to take over to make my life easier. So before you hire anybody, I would advise you have all these tasks with the systems pre-written, how to do it, because if you don't, you're going to spend money figuring that out with them there, and it's just a waste of time essentially. So be prepared when you hire somebody. After that, I figured, okay, so I've got this. Like, what can I do to try to get outbound business, or what can I do to help implement and like take a little bit more off my shoulders so I can grow the business as an image, or just to do other stuff, to have more time with my family. And so that was having a part-time real life assistant. So that'd be at this point in time Michael Taylor, who is a licensed real estate agent now. He would help me with really almost anything that I needed. And even with like listings, right? It's like he hauls stuff for a side business. So I trusted him because he knew what my expectations were because he was a client first. So I helped him and his girlfriend get their house. He saw what that process was like on the consumer end. So he knew what it should be like for my end as well. And the first time I met him, I showed him a house, and then the next day, a client had an emergency where the movers canceled, and she had to move. And this was early in my career. I didn't have very many friends in this area at all. I don't have any family out here. So I called him and said, "Hey, man, I didn't even know he did this stuff either. I just called him and said, hey, will you help me with an emergency?" He said, "What kind of emergency are we talking about here?" And I didn't even know he liked me at this point in time either yet. So like I like just met him the day before, and he was real kind of standoff too. And he's like, "Yeah, like sure, I'll help you." And he helped me move this family for like 7 hours. And so from that point on, I knew he was the real deal. And I was like, "Dude, you know, you're a ride or die, bro. Like, I'm gonna hook you up." And like, he didn't even want money for it. So it was just like instant, real friendship from that point forward, being there for each other. Um, but you know, after that, every etc. task in real life, like, yeah, I paid him for it, and whether it be running signs, whether it be uh, getting documents from clients, just being at two places at once is very valuable. You can get a lot more done that way, and your day is freed up. So freeing up your time, leveraging that, which you've made a pretty sick reel on, JP, leveraging your time. Shout out. Uh, that's really valuable. So now what I'm doing, or my focus is kind of more stuff like this. I'm working on my public speaking. I'm working on my self image. I'm working on creating better content, taking it to the next level. It's always a work in progress. Like I'm not where I want to be yet. I'm seeing room for improvement every day, but I'm at least taking the initiative and putting in the work to do it. Like this green screen, for instance. Like I used to always think about getting it, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know what? I'm actually gonna click that buy button. Like it, and like I tried getting this podcast thing set up and getting a mic and everything, just didn't have it all together. But that's the next step. I'm gonna actively work on getting my material to where it's like Ricky Carruth level stuff, which I heard you guys had him on, or we're gonna have him on, and I thought that was super inspiring. So trying to connect with other industry level people that are much higher than me, whether it's where I want to be or just finding enlightenment from that level.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. I
Yeah,
love it.
buddy.
And that's something that people don't necessarily think about when they think about being a realtor. You know what I mean? They don't think about you're a business owner through and through. And you can grow it to massive levels if you allow it. Or you can just sell one or two houses a year to family members, and whatever you want to do. But I love that you're absolutely growing into a business, and it's helping you be an entrepreneur, and it's going to help you down the road too in terms of being a business owner, maybe in different aspects as well, in the investing side of things and those avenues. So amazing, man! Kudos to you, brother. It's been an awesome time watching you grow as well, man.
Well, JP, I mean, dude, you've grown. I think you grew more than I had grown in a year span, though.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I remember telling you, bro, you only want to do 5 million. Like that's it.
I remember
And
that.
I was like, dude, I think you're gonna like. I think you're selling yourself short. You said like I want to be the top agent at Dream Huge. I'm like, dude, I think you're selling yourself short with that, my man. I think that you could be the top agent in Mansfield.
I remember it. I remember it,
Yeah.
and this is the truth, man. And this is why I freaking love this guy, man. This is why we've built such a good friendship, and have kind of like I've told Pete about it too. We kind of have like a friendly like competition. You know what I mean? It's like we want to help as many people as we can, and I motivate him to help more people. He motivates me to help more people because we're just like constantly kind of going at each other, but in a friendly way. It's always like, congrats though, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like if I'm gonna lose to someone, it better be you.
Hey, ain't neither of you guys losing. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, for sure.
Two winners right here. All right. We're up over 43 minutes, 44 minutes. Let's get into let's get into the huge 4 questions of the day, baby. Dan Amaro, buy and sell tomorrow with Dan Amaro. What's the one thing you wish you would have known when you began your career in real estate?
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to make sure it's enlightening. To not be afraid to invest in systems, leads, or a mentorship that's actually going to be fruitful. Don't spend money on online coaching when you first sign up. I didn't, but I know people who have, and I've seen what they give you, and I would say that that's a waste of money. Don't get sucked into lead sources that hit you up. The good lead sources are the ones you have to go to. Don't spend money on things you've never heard of.
That's
Great
perfect. Perfect
advice.
for new agents right there. Amazing. Dan, what is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
Biggest failure was my second transaction. Not going to get into too many details, but I almost got sued, and I didn't really have a whole bunch of support on the back end. And when you're brand new and a second agent, it's pretty frightening. It was terrifying. I had paid $1,600 out of my pocket, and the commission was only $500. But because of that, I have become who I am now, and it will never happen again. I don't want it to happen to anybody else. And like that. I almost quit. Like I cried after I paid them the $1,600 because like, oh my god, I worked so hard to make that happen, and I paid $1,100 and didn't have really a whole bunch of money either. Mm-hmm. So like that I'd say is my biggest failure, but from that failure was also how I became successful.
Love it.
Yep. We never lose, we only learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Amen.
You only lose when you quit. That's when you truly lose.
Quitters never win.
Yep. What are the best resources that have helped you along the way?
Mentors that care about you. So Tracy Jones, Tom Collier, Rick DeVore, Justin Gwynn, Mark Sandvig. Those guys have helped me at different points in life, are still helping me. Even though I'm not part of KW, they all still reach out to me still and just either can give me encouragement or ask me to, hey, we're doing this class if you want to come. It'd be great to see you. And it like softens my heart to that people who aren't even in business with me still care about me, and like I do my best to reciprocate that.
Love it. Mm-hmm. Love it. And if you read almost any book and starting a business, it's always find a mentor. Find somebody that's done exactly what you're looking to do, learn from them, and then do it better than they did.
Yep.
It's the key. What are 2 books that have helped inspire your success?
Oh, that's an easy one. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Sales Ninja.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Sales. See, I don't know if I've heard of Sales Ninja. I'm going to have to write that one down.
I'm getting it right now, putting it in my queue.
I can't remember who wrote it, but that book, I listen to it once a year. I've listened and read Rich Dad Poor Dad at least like 10 times, honestly. Like it kind of like makes me nauseous a little bit now because I've read it so many times. But Sales Ninja I'll listen to once a year, and it's like, oh man, I need to implement that again. I need to start doing that. It's just such a solid foundation of like. That's what I'd also recommend for new real estate agents. Read Sales Ninja. It's a book for you to become a badass sales agent.
Larry Kendall, does that sound right?
Yep, that's him.
Larry Kendall. Ninja Selling.
That's what I meant. Ninja Selling.
Yep, got it. I'm adding it to the queue right now. Thank you, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Okay. Now we're going to have some fun, buddy. Now we're going to have some fun. Are you ready for the rapid fire round? First thing that comes to the top of your mind, you got to say it. All right,
Okay.
Dan? Okay. What is your spirit animal?
A tiger.
Did we lose him?
Hello?
What is your spirit animal? Sorry.
A tiger.
Tiger. Boom. What's your favorite movie?
Step Brothers.
Step Brothers. We were just saying that.
Prestige Worldwide.
He's worldwide.
He had what was his name? Derek. Derek had a real estate company, D-Man Realty.
Oh my God.
He was an agent.
Yeah, yeah. So I feel for shits and gigs.
You're right. Oh, JP went to get that. I think I threw it away. I used to have a sign up in the hallway, D-Man Realty, because
Okay.
our sales are nice baby or something like that.
Oh, that's sick.
I tried to find it. It was gone. It was gone.
Okay. Favorite food?
Raspberries.
Raspberries.
Oh, interesting.
New one.
Love
I had
them.
that one.
What do you do in the little spare time that you have, Mr. Buy and Sell Tomorrow?
Hang out and do things with my daughter and wife. Like she's almost 3, so almost everything we do is kind of new still. And finding out what she likes to do is pretty fun. She really likes to go swimming, so I would say the spare time I have, you'll see us at one of the YMCA's swimming or at a water park.
Mm-hmm. Love it. Next one, Dan. We lost Boss Man here. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh my God, I'm probably Napoleon Hill.
Napoleon Hill.
Because he has written the books that kind of got me started on this whole self-improvement. Before, like that's when I realized I wanted to become an entrepreneur. Was after what successful people do, or I mean, they're all kind of similar, his books, but after getting through one of his books, it just like lit a fire and really ignited me. Along with, I would definitely say Grant Cardone or wow, I said his name earlier. I can't think of it.
Robert?
No, not Robert. He just did a Rise to Summit on YouTube. Like, Tony Robbins. Boom. Tony Robbins is probably who I'd really like to have dinner with, because he's worked with a lot of interesting, famous, successful people. Like, I was hearing him talk about how his techniques he had used, and he used to be into hypnotherapy as well. Him and Jim Rohn, that's where he got his start. So he's got Jim Rohn, he's got Conor McGregor, countless of other peoples that you could just tap into a little bit. So that I'd say actually probably him. Yeah.
Love it. Amazing. All right, next one. What is your go-to karaoke song?
Either Ocean Avenue by Yellowcard or Until the Day I Die by Story of the Year.
Can we get some of it?
Yeah, a cappella.
All right, we got 2 more left here, brother. What is something that you fear?
Something that I fear, man, we're going to get deep. Losing my wife or daughter. For nothing specific, but that is probably my greatest fear.
Yeah. And I can tell, man, and I've obviously known you on the personal level of things as well, how much they mean to you, and how truly important that they are for just why you do the things you do. Would you consider them to be your why?
They're the driving force, but the why is to they're definitely a big component of it. The why is to not experience, to be in control of the pain that I wasn't in control of growing up. That is my why.
Love it. I think I'm a very similar one to that. last question of the rapid fire round. What is your greatest accomplishment?
My daughter.
Your daughter. Love it. We hear all the dads say that too. See, that's one part. Every dad says it, man. It's either that or their wife. So, yeah. Well, let's touch on that real quick before we get off here. I mean, because I don't understand it. I'll be honest, because I don't have any children. You know what I mean? What changes? What changes when you get to that point? What changes in your mind, your mindset, and your motivation when you have a child?
For me specifically, one of the things was I didn't want to be a loser. So before I was in real estate, I was doing all the inspecting and stuff like that. And before she was born, I had 10 grand saved in the bank. To me, I was like, oh my God, this is the most I've ever had saved. Like, I'm so proud of myself. And then she was born in June, right? So from June to the end of July, I had $1,500 left. Right. And I was working full time too. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to stop working and just chill. Like I was working my ass off and overtime and everything because the wife had to take time off and that was part of the plan and stuff. But I was kind of, for the first time, taking care of all of as like 90% of the finances. And part of it was having that money saved. So then when that happened, that's when I was like, I have to do something else. Like I cannot, I'll be bankrupt at the rate that I'm going right now, and I don't want to lose everything. So like that was when I signed up for real estate. So like that's one thing. The other reason is my daughter is also a miracle baby. She is from IVF, so it was a very difficult process on my wife's side just to have her pregnant, and so that is also like the reason why she's the most important, greatest accomplishment in my life. My wife is the greatest trophy that I have, but my daughter is the greatest accomplishment that I have.
Love it, man. Love it. All right. Well, we will wrap it up, man. We will wrap it up. Dan, it was an absolute pleasure having you on here and chopping it up with you, man, and having a conversation and learning a little bit more about what makes Mr. Buy and Sell Tomorrow roll on a daily basis. So thank you, brother, for joining us today. And Dan, where and how can folks contact or follow you?
Yeah, so any handler, Instagram, Facebook, dan.amaro.realtor, that's me. You'll see all my contact information there. If you want to shoot me an email, dan.amaro@e-merge.com. And I'm pretty good at responding. So, I mean, if you contact me through there, I'll be back at you really quick. And I want to also thank you guys for giving me this opportunity just to chop it up. You guys made me feel special, like I had something important to say, which I feel like I do, but I don't get to talk about this stuff really.
Right.
No one really asks these questions. So honestly, you guys did a really good job. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure on my end. I feel blessed. Thank you.
Absolutely, man. And the thanks goes right back. It was awesome hearing your story, connecting even more, man. And yeah. And thank you to all the listeners out there for listening to the Dream Huge podcast with Mr. Pete Peterson, who unfortunately fell out of the podcast here to end it.
But he's
Mr.
back.
Peterson, John Pavlansky, and our special guest, Mr. Buy and Sell Tomorrow. Who do you call? Dan Amaro. And as always, y'all, remember the rules. You got to work hard, never give up, and dream huge.
Huge.
Let's see the guns, Dan. Yeah.
Too big for the screen.